That's way better. Tufting is making a rug. So my journey with this actually started back in Computex of last year, where Linus was walking around the show floor and I was looking for something to do and found this, where you get to make your own personalized rug with this crazy looking gun here. And it was just such a fun activity that we decided to get one in the office and show you guys what it's all about. So this is the Tufting Nation's AKV gun. I don't know what any of that stands for. Honestly, when I went to Taiwan and when I went to do all of these other rugs, there was somebody there that was just like, here you go, here's what you do, just go for it. So I never looked into any of the specs. So I have Reece here, who apparently has this gun, to help me today.
I have this exact same kit that we purchased here today at home. I've been tufting for about 5 months. I am by no means an expert, as will become quite evident later in this video. But yeah, I can show you what to do.
I do know some basics. Like I know this is what you use to pull the thread through.
Yeah.
We got the power supply brick.
Yeah.
Power connector, and let's see if I can even get it out of here. It doesn't want to come out.
Yank it.
Oh, wait,
they're pretty
there
tough.
we go.
Don't worry, they're pretty
tough.
They're pretty tough.
Was that on purpose? It looks industrial, right? Like you would never think that you could just have a kit like this at home.
It looks
honestly.
like a weapon. Is what it looks like.
So I honestly don't know all the different components here. I'm sure there's a motor in here somewhere.
Yep.
And then it connects to scissors. I know that these are the scissors. And then the thread just goes through this and through the scissors, and you're ready to go, basically.
It does some magic, yeah.
Yeah, I think it has a reading?
It has a digital speed readout, which is unique to this gun. It's pretty handy for when you're, if you're doing large pieces, doing a faster speed. Obviously, you can get through it quicker, just nicer.
But can't you just feel that? Like, do you need the
you
digital
can.
readout?
No, you don't need it. But it's a nice bonus, right?
Okay.
It's
See,
visually.
I feel like I'd have to try it with the digital readout, but when I did it before, I'm so focused on my straight line and going up and down the way I'm supposed to that I wouldn't necessarily see this.
No, definitely not. You're only gonna look at it when you're adjusting it, right?
Right.
So if you need more speed, it's just easier to get back to where you.
Do you not just use your finger to control the speed?
No.
Whoa.
That's just on and off.
Whoa, this one's different than all the others. The other ones, I controlled it with my finger. So if I applied more pressure, it went faster.
Interesting. I've never actually used one of the other guns. This is the only gun I've ever used or owned.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll learn about that today. And then we got fancy scissors. I just used normal scissors.
Yeah, these are just we actually purchased some extra fancy scissors.
Extra fancy? Really? Okay, look at these. What's with this?
These are duckbill scissors. These are good for carving. Once you're finished the rug, actually carving out the details to make it look a little more.
Okay, see, you can tell I didn't do that on any of my rugs.
Yeah,
I didn't have time.
Which is fair. This is still a rug. You know what I mean? You don't have to carve it.
Yeah.
It's definitely a rug.
It would definitely look better. A manual.
A manual.
Which we don't need because you're here.
Yeah. Okay.
So included in the kit, we get our frame, which is where we're going to attach our fabric. It's really sharp, but we need that because that's how we're going to stretch our fabric across it. Reece, did you have to actually set up this frame, or was it pre-built and you just put it together with the clamps here?
We built it with it came with 8 screws. You just screw it together. Very easy.
Okay, cool. If you don't want their kit for some reason, you could build your own. You can see it's just 2x4s and screws. These remind me of the tack strips you use when you install carpets near the edges by the walls. And then you just get some clamps to secure it to the table that you've got. And then I guess this would be something that you would have to do on your own, where you would put your yarn on these posts. And then you have this rod here for pulling your string through.
With most yarns, actually, you're going to want to feed 2 strands into the gun. When it pushes through, it blooms out a little better.
Oh.
It looks like whatever you used. Do you know what kind of fabric this is?
Acrylic.
Acrylic. Okay, this is also acrylic.
Okay.
I don't know what acrylic you guys used with these companies, but they look very different from what I have traditionally used, which is just the cheap Michaels stuff. So you want to attach. We'll do the top first.
Sure. One thing that I did notice is they included a really big frame. Some of the tufting places I've been to are much smaller. You can see my things are quite small.
Yeah, so the frame that I purchased from Tufting Nation is their smaller size, which is only, I think, about 10 inches, or maybe 8 or so inches shorter, sort of thing. So it's just a perfect kind of square. Okay. It's more of a rectangle.
That's nice for people who don't have a huge craft space.
Exactly. So what we're trying to do is get it perfectly parallel. If it isn't perfectly level and all that sort of stuff, your rug can become a bit wavy.
So your lines won't be as straight as they should be.
No matter how straight you make them, they'll be a bit wavy just due to the nature of the fabric. So this is the premium backing material from Tufting Nation. This is 100% polyester, I believe.
Okay.
There's cotton polyester blends that are all right. polyester is the best because it's the strongest material, I guess, that you can use for this, which means you'll get less rips, less tears, less stretching, stuff like that.
So if I make a mistake, I can just pull it out.
You can just pull it out and do it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've stretched our fabric over the frame, and it's nice and taut now, which is great because that's going to give us a nice, stable surface to work on as we're tufting through. We need our image to get started, so having a projector is actually really handy because then you can just trace onto here a nice, clean image instead of trying to free draw or freehand it. Okay, we don't want to make the image too big because it actually takes a really long time to tuft a small thing. This small thing took 2 hours with just the 2 colors to do. So we don't want our image today to be too big. And if you're starting a project for the very first time, I would start with something small as well. I think usually they do, 2 feet by 2 feet to start. Does that sound about right to you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So one very important thing is to get your projector squared with your canvas. Otherwise, you're going to get a very distorted image, which is no bueno. Also, another thing, while she's doing that, make sure you reverse your image when you put it onto the projector. If you don't reverse your image, then the actual rug will be a reverse of whatever you put on here.
Oh, we should explain why, because this looks like it's the front side, but it's actually not. This is the back side. Exactly. So the other side is the front side.
I make that mistake a lot.
And Riley asked a great question. Why do they call it tufting? I don't know, but my guess is because this gun is actually scissors on the end, and when you push it through, it's cutting little tufts of yarn and leaving them behind. So that's my guess. But do you know the actual reasoning?
Sounds pretty valid to me.
One of the things that I really like about tufting is that the setup, once you have your frame actually built, just putting your canvas on and getting ready to actually tuft is so short. There's so many crafts where I feel like I spend so much time setting it up before I can get started that by the time I'm ready to get started, like I've run out of time already.
So what we're doing now is we're just marking the colors on the canvas so we know what to put where.
Okay, so to load the gun, you should make sure it's off first. Okay, because the last thing you want to do, because you're going to be threading the scissors here, the last thing you want to do is accidentally have it be on and push on it while you're threading. So does running 2 threads mean that you can do less lines?
Effectively, yeah. It increases the density.
So that's one thing that I didn't factor into the time it takes to make one of those. It might shorten the time in half?
I guess it depends what you're going for. Like if you're going for a really dense, thick rug, then probably not. But it just makes it look more full.
So my daughter actually helped me make one of these. And when you make it too dense, it actually starts to curl on itself. So you don't want that.
Yes.
So how do you know the difference between dense enough but not too dense?
I just keep practicing.
Okay.
Yeah, try a bunch of trial and error.
Because I haven't used a gun like this before, maybe we should start with a segue to our sponsor.
Thanks to Vessi for sponsoring this video. Wake up! A new drop from Vessi just landed! Their Pacific sneakers have a stylish, everyday look along with the usual Vessi goodness you'd expect. It's got nice and grippy outsoles that are designed to not leave marks on inside flooring, removable insoles if you want to customize your fit, and of course, they're made of their Dymatex material, which Vessi claims is 100% waterproof. You'll even get a 1-year warranty and a 30-day worry-free window for exchanges or returns. So go to vessi.com/shortcircuit to get 15% off a pair of their new Pacific sneakers today.
So for smaller details, you're going to want to go slower, obviously, right? So I would start probably in like the 3200 range.
One thing I do notice is that there's a LED light on the end of this, which is nice because then you can see exactly where you're going in. I thought I read somewhere on the box that there was a laser as well to show you the exact spot.
I think that's what that light is. That's what they're calling.
That's the laser?
I think that's what they're calling.
Okay. Any other place that I've been to, when we get started, the first thing you do is not on your design, but you just practice right on the edge. So you're supposed to take the gun and push with your shoulder, not your hand, because apparently that will get very tired after an hour or 2 of doing this. And then you press the trigger, and it just goes. So this is what we call a row or a line.
Yeah, perfect.
And this is the back side of the rug. So do you want to go see the front?
Sure.
So because the other side is our front side and because the scissors have to poke through the fabric, you want to make sure that you have space behind your canvas. Oh boy, that's too fast.
Okay, so you can turn it down.
That is not a straight line at all. I was
Okay,
like,
so
I'm going to fix this after.
So this is okay. So with the nice thing about tufting is even when you screw up, it's not too late. You can just pull it out and do it again.
Yeah. That's way better. Okay, much straighter line. It's not perfect, but it's getting there. Another thing you'll notice, when we thread this, we don't want to have a really long tail because that's what gets left here. So we want to make sure that it's a nice short tail so that we're not wasting a whole bunch of yarn. Oh, and I still screwed up. We'll fix that after. The great thing about how it expands on the other side is that sometimes it's actually quite hard to tell.
So what I do is I tend to outline the thing I'm doing first, and then you can go back and just do straight lines for the center. Yeah.
I figured out the problem. This is much neater. Look at that line compared to this line. It's because I'm not tall enough.
Oh, we can lower the table actually.
That is a much better height. You can see how much straighter that is. One thing I want to know is, does this gun adjust the length of the tuft? Because I noticed my rugs are different lengths.
Yes, you can. The way to do it is just by adjusting this bar here. The longer that bar is, I believe the shorter the length on this side will be. So if it's a very short bar, it'll be longer.
Once we outline the piece that we're working on, what we want to do is vertical lines because there's less likelihood of screwing that up. And because the yarn on the other side puffs up, we don't actually want the lines to be right next to each other because that would be too thick. So usually what they say is one scissor space in between the two lines.
It's all personal preference, really.
One thing I really appreciate is that it's not that loud, so I can have a conversation with Reece while I'm tufting, which is super nice. It's also, I don't know, it's not that heavy. Like I can one-hand it, which is really good, especially if I'm gonna be doing this for a couple hours. I also never talked about the handle, which is really nice to have, but I feel like that's standard on tufting guns.
Yeah.
Because in order to turn, you keep your left hand straight, and you just turn the gun, the right hand. So a little bit away from that. One thing that I do notice that's different from this gun compared to the other ones I've used is that there's no motor in here. There's no cogs on this side, which I've seen in other machines. It's just straight bars here. I think it's because the cog is in here. You can kind of see the outline of the center of it. So I think that's where it turns, and that's where most people get their thread stuck. But you can also see that it's starting to build up dust here, and I can see why other people would have trouble with their machines when there is a cog there. I've been calling this a cog, but I think the manufacturer refers to it as an eccentric wheel. Eccentric. So you can see my lines or my rows aren't exactly even, but when you go to the other side, it's actually really hard to tell. So that was 15 minutes of tufting, I think, maybe 10 minutes of tufting. You can see how satisfying it is, where after 10 minutes, I've already got a little trapezoid and we're ready to do more colors. We've been taking it at a nice leisurely pace so far at about 2,000 RPMs. Let's see if this baby purrs. It goes up to 6,000, so let's see what max speed is like. Whoa! Jeez!
Holy crap. It's not that quiet.
Okay, that is not quiet, and that vibrates like crazy at that max speed. And I don't know that it was actually faster.
I think you can move faster.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, okay, but I was told when you use a tufting gun, you let the machine move you. You don't move the machine. So it didn't move me faster. Okay, let me try again. Maybe that was just me being tentative.
It would definitely be the answer.
Oh yeah, okay. But you can also see that at max speed, and I think this is just me being a beginner, it didn't come out evenly when I moved faster.
Oh, now that's tufting.
I feel like I would only use that high speed when I'm making a really big design and there's a big space where I want it all one color. Otherwise, I feel like you're most likely going to be at a lower speed. For a novice to this hobby, especially making a small design like this, I'm probably going to stick to the slower speeds. Would pros use a gun like this?
So they could use a gun like this. This one is marketed more towards like the prosumer model. Professionals would probably use like a pneumatic gun, which can run into the thousands of dollars. This one is priced at $300 US.
And how much for the kit?
The whole kit is
$400.
So you get the frame, the gun, and I believe that's it.
Wait, do you get the cloth?
You get the cloth as well, yes.
Okay, but then you have to buy your own yarn.
You gotta buy your own yarn, and you gotta buy your own carving tools and scissors and stuff like that.
That's expensive. But the class that I did, where it was a 2-hour class and I got to make one of those little mini ones, was $60 already. When you're done tufting with the gun, the craft doesn't actually end there. You have to apply glue to the back of it so that these don't come out, and then you have to cut your piece out. Reece actually already completed one where he did all the tufting and cut it out, and it's ready for gluing, which includes gluing the edges in, like this. And then right after you do that, you put a backing on, like this. Your project can be finished at that stage, but you can also carve, which is where you take the carving machine or gun or whatever that thing is called, and you go along and outline any parts that you want to emphasize. So when you carve along this edge, you would be removing some of the thread here so that it shows depth in your design. That is a really wordy way of explaining it. I'll just show you. On this one here, you can see he carved this already. So do you see that separation, that depth that I was talking about?
It's like when you get a fun haircut with a design in it.
Exactly. Do they call that carving when it's on your head?
Maybe.
Okay, wait. This looks like an egg, not a circle. What happened?
Well, remember what I said earlier about the projector being square with the thing?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, circles, yeah. Eggs, sexy. Much better.
Okay. If you're interested in more obscure tech, let us know. And maybe check out the ice cream machine or the smart toaster or the Cricut video. Anyway, subscribe for more content like this.